Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Back to the Roots podcast. After a 1 week hiatus, we're back, and this time it's just Ved and I. Unfortunately, Satvik and Rahul couldn't make it due to some other commitments. Yeah, since we've missed a week, I think this week's going to be a big catch up of week 3 and week 4 of both county Division 1 and Division 2. Starting off with probably the game of the week, possibly the game of the tournament entirely. Nottinghamshire versus Middlesex. So Nottinghamshire started the game brilliantly. Ben Duckett, again, one of the England openers, scoring 177 in what looked like, a tough track to bat on. And that took them to 364. Middlesex, in reply, 270 all out. Not much to stand out there. And they gave, Nottinghamshire a lead of 90. And this is when things turned. So Nottinghamshire came into bat in the second innings and were 158 for 6, 40 odd overs left to go in the day. They declared because it just looked like it was going to rain. Unfortunately, this is not what happened. The second they hit declare and umpires called for an early lunch. Blue skies, sun was out, cricket was on, and you never know what could have happened. And again, it could have been a very tricky chase because 249 in 40 overs is not easy. Again, that's pretty much an ODI. And Middlesex openers came out firing. Basically, every Middlesex batsman scored a runner ball and kept that run rate going till the end. And pretty much one of the darkest test matches I've seen. The lights were horrible at one point to bat on, but Middlesex had to push. And I think in probably the second last over of the day is when they finished the game. So ended the game 249 for 6. Middlesex won by 4 wickets, and I'd go man of the match. Ryan Higgins, as usual, proving that he's the perfect all rounder. 22 not out second innings to win the game, 50 in the first innings, 3 in a row, and picked up a couple of crucial wickets throughout the game as well. So this is probably one for the ages, I'd say. So moving on to Somerset, Lancashire. Batsman's paradise in this game. Captain Tom Abel scoring 150 and keeper James Rue scoring 117. So that took Somerset to 440. Lancashire, Jimmy Anderson taking 5 wickets. I mean, let's not even, it's like news at this point. Oh, the sun was shining today. Yeah, great. Moving on.
But not in UK, as you all know it.
Yeah, unfortunately. I said that and I felt bad. But yeah, our last week's opening option, Keaton Jennings, in reply, scored 189. And there were steady contributions around him as well. So that means Lancashire ended up at 554. So giving, a lead of 110. In reply, I thought Somerset would probably do something, push for a win, possibly. But, it was just a draw at the end. 256 for 6 is what Somerset ended their second innings. So yeah, a tame draw. I'd go man of the match. Keaton Jennings for that 189. Moving on to game 3 is Hampshire, Northamptonshire. So Hampshire started strong. Couple of hundreds, one from Nick Gubbins and James Vince again scoring 186. So that took them to 482 for 8. In reply, Northamptonshire in what looked like again clearly a great batting wicket, just couldn't handle James Fuller's spell. So he took 6 for and ensured that they got 149 all out, which means they were had to follow on. And when teams are following on, you generally expect that they, grit in a bit and score a bit more runs and stay in the middle a lot more. But they went from 149 all out to 63 all out. So Abbas again, Mohammad Abbas taking a 4 for. In the last 2 weeks, he's taken a 6 for in every episode. This time he's taken 4. So Mohammad Abbas, please, you got up
Disappointing.
your performance. This is not good enough
Disappointing.
by our standards. You have to take 6 wickets every single game. But yeah, another foreign import of theirs, Kyle Abbott took 3 for and led Hampshire to an innings win. But I know the bowlers did really well, but I'd just go James Vince as my man of the match. Last game for this week was Essex Kent. Again, weather didn't look great, so a lot of people just didn't expect a lot of play in this game. Essex went into bat, and Alistair Cook's partner Nick Brown scored 159. Captain Tom Wesley, who was going through a bit of a lean patch at the moment, scored 148, which took them to 450 for 5 declared. Then came the innings of the week for me. Kent came into bat in what looked like tough conditions, overcast, the possibility of rain any minute. And Zach Crawley, just like Ollie Pope did 1 week ago with Surrey, Zach Crawley came in and scored 170 off 183 balls. To score again a baseball sort of 100 in these conditions is just testament to how good of a player Zach Crawley is. And he's just banging on that door now for the Ashes, and I think he probably starts pretty much every game. So yeah, I'd go man of the match, Zach Crawley. I am a bit batsman heavy in terms of my man of the matches, but what can you do? Uh, yeah, swiftly moving on, I'm going to County Division 2, Week 3. So that starts off with Gloucester versus Worcestershire.
I mean, like you said, I agree. We've been seeing a lot of overcast conditions over the past few weeks. The batsmen have dominated, so a very good sign for English batsmen. And also, thank you, Satwik, for leaving me with the toughest pronunciations of team names for this week. So let's go on to the first game, which was a tongue twister: Gloucestershire versus Worcestershire. Game started off perfectly for Worcester with Gloucester reeling. It's 45 for 7, but as it always has been, every team that I've covered has had a top order collapse and has had somebody saving them lower down the order. And today it is Tom Price who got a runner ball 100, taking them to 231. In response, Worcestershire weren't that great. The middle order of Azhar Ali, Jack Haynes, and captain Brett Oliveira managed a combined total of 0 runs. So it has been an interesting game, even though it did end up in a draw. Worcester did end up getting a 70-run lead, but no standout performances in the second innings. Gloucester scored 226 in the second innings, followed by Worcester struggling and scrambling at 51 for 4 uh, to draw the game. So did end up in a draw. Uh, Gloucester did end up getting the points for getting first innings lead, and I think Tom Price's lower order turn would make him the man of the match for me, as it always has been. And moving on from there, down in Wales, Durham took on Glamorgan. Durham started really strong as five batsmen scored 50, got 50s, and the team got to a total of 471. Very surprising that no one got 100 in that innings. In response, Glamorgan also scored 305 thanks to a ton from Kieran Carlson, but failed to avoid the follow-on. In the second innings, I think the rain gods were in their favor, and that at their home ground, they were struggling at 104 for 6, and rain helped them secure a draw. Although they didn't get the first innings lead, they did end up getting a point from the game. Man of the match has to be Ben Rain, who got a 6 for, which could have possibly led to a Durham win. And then we move on to Sussex versus Yorkshire. Another draw, and it was two heavyweight sides that took on each other. Big names like Ollie Robinson, Cheteshwar Pujara, David Malan, Shea Hope, and Dom Bess. Not much happened in the game, but there was an umpire controversy where the umpire did fumble when
Yes,
Shea
it
Hope
did.
stepped.
I have to tell you this. This was incredible. I have to take over here because I just watched this live and it blew my mind. So basically, what happened was Sheho played the ball and then he just walked across. He's just strolled down after tapping his bat. He did tap his bat and leave, but the umpire and the fielding team, that nobody said that the ball was dead. So the second, when it was like 54 for 3, so one of those precarious situations where one wicket, the game could have gone anyway. So basically, a
And it's
Sussex
a big
keeper,
wicket. It's a big wicket in
of
Shea
course,
Hope.
a foreign batsman, especially of his quality, we all know how good Shea Hope is. The Sussex keeper basically took the bails off when Shea Hope was striding out because he had done that for the last 3-4 overs before that, but nobody really said anything. And then they said, you know what, if he does it again, we're going to take the bails off. And that's exactly what happened. Unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever team you support, basically the leg umpire, saw that Shea Hope tapped his bat and then instead declined the appeal and said that the ball was dead. So the Sussex batting coach basically said that, we saw him do that quite a bit in the first innings and now, and we thought this is our chance to run him out because his bat wasn't in the ground. It's as simple as that. His bat wasn't on the ground, and our fielders were still in motion and still playing the delivery. So the ball technically wasn't dead because it's the fielders who get the ball rolling in terms of, okay, the umpire saying, okay, it's a dead ball, let's move on, throw to the keeper to covers to bowler, etc. That hadn't happened. So, was he out? Was he not out? I guess we'll never know.
I think
And
it's a gray area, and I think it brought back a lot of school memories for all of us. I
all
think all of us have done this at least once while playing. So,
100%. But yeah, sorry I had to cut you off, but I saw that live, so it's just too interesting for me to, get into.
yeah, so that's the most that came out of that game. It ended up in a draw. Sussex picking up the first innings lead, scoring 361. Not too great in the second innings, but managing both teams saw out 4 days of cricket. So all three games in game week 3 in the second division have amounted to draws with no results. So hopefully some better games in game week 4.
Perfect. Yeah, moving on to game week 4, rightly said. Again, moving on to my team, Middlesex. Ever since I've bought this, I have to say it again, 2 wins out of 2. Come on, boys. We've gone from probably dead last to, I think it's third at this point or fourth. So, great comeback. Back-to-back wins for the men at Lords. Conditions were tough. It looked like it was the toss decides the game sort of game. Luckily for them, Middlesex won the toss. They put in Kent into bat. And there's this bowler, Ethan Bamber, who's a 24-year-old, pretty much all of our age. And he unfortunately didn't play the first game, but he's played every game since, and he's been exceptional in every game since. So he started exactly where he left off in the last game. He took 4 and restricted the famed Kent batting lineup to 186. In response, Middlesex was 62 for 5. What's new? They've always been 62 for 5, it seems like. But again, Ryan Higgins, who scored a 15 every first innings of the county championship so far, scored another one. He scored 70, so fourth in a row, and ended up ensuring that Middlesex got a lead of 60. Again, that lead turned out to be invaluable because the Middlesex bowling lineup just decided to turn up. Tim Murtagh, first ball of the second innings, Zach Crawley gone. Second ball of the second innings, their one down batsman gone as well. Sorry, the name is skipping me at this point. So Tim Murtagh eventually ended up with the 6 for, which makes him get over 1,000 wickets for Middlesex across all formats. So clearly one of the all-time greats for Middlesex. Tim Murtagh's 6 for meant that Kent got all out for 128. Chasing 86 again could have been tricky given Middlesex's top order collapses in the first 2 weeks, but this was a cakewalk for opener Sam Robson and Peter Malan, who just stuck through and finished the game in about 20 overs. Again, conditions were quite good to bat on towards the end of the game, not so much at the start. But yeah, again, Middlesex 2 wins out of 2. Both again excellent games and different sort of wins, which is always great. But before I ramble on about Middlesex, I just go man of the match. Ethan Bamber for the 6 for, and I think deserves some credit after his performances. The second game is Surrey versus Warwickshire. This was decided by the bowlers. So the bowlers decided to turn up. In 3 days, the game was done. So to start off, Warwickshire got all out for 150. Again, not too much noteworthy. All the Surrey bowlers basically got wickets. In response, Surrey basically got 281, courtesy of Jamie Smith, about 80 odd, and that basically decided the game. So trailing by 130, Warwickshire couldn't really do too much of the game. So they got all out for 141, and Kimar Roach, again, one of the best exponents of swing bowling that we have seen, took a 5 for. Surrey had the impossible target of scoring 11 runs to win, and they scored 16. So that was clearly an incredible batting performance by Surrey to score 2 digits. Well done. But yeah, bowlers paradise. Everyone chipped in. Kima Roach got 8. Daniel Worrell got 7. So to see both bowlers coming and getting an 8 for and a 7 for respectively shows how good Surrey are. And as I said, and I think it was Rahul as well said in the start, destined to be champions, it seems like. But yeah, moving on to week 4, Division 2. We have 3 games again, which Wade's going to take over. Start off with.
And in the first game of week 4, game week 2, it's the team of the two Ds. Durham take on Derbyshire with two first inning turns. Durham put on a 450 for 2, so second time in 2 weeks they've crossed the 400 run mark. and a collective masterclass by the bowling unit dismantled Derbyshire for 165 in the first and 218 the second, where they were following on, giving Durham finally we see a win in the second division. So Durham won by an innings and 7 runs. Man of the match for this game has to be Matty Potts, picking up 8 wickets over 2 innings. And then we go back to draws again. We go down to Sussex. Sussex took on Gloucestershire. Another draw. Sussex captain and India's favourite Puji Cheteshwar Pujara scored a mammoth 151, looking like a positive sign. Finally, a positive towards India's World Test Championship hopes. And the Sussex ended up scoring 455 for 5. And Gloucestershire weren't good in either innings. Um, Nobody could get going, nobody could convert their starts. And they were given the follow on and eventually ended up drawing the game after scoring 121 for 4 in the second innings of the game. Man of the match has to be none other than just Cheteshwar Pujara in this game.
We love to see that. I mean, Pujara
Of
runs are
course, we do.
always fun.
Pujara runs in England. Who wouldn't?
Of course.
And moving on to the final game of Division 2 this week, Leicestershire versus Glamorgan. We aren't getting enough draws. Apparently, another draw here, 3 draws in week 3, and another couple of draws in week 4. Leicestershire put on 407 with 2 batsmen missing out on a ton. Peter Hanscom got 95. Rehan Ahmad also got out in the 90s. So nervous 90s really getting to the Leicester batsmen. I think this has been happening over the past few weeks. Need to see a few more 50 conversions from their batsmen as well. For Glamorgan, Manas finally came amongst the runs. We got 60 odd, and keeper Chris Cook scored a wonderful 132, which gave them a first innings lead of 50 odd. So chasing 407, not the easiest of tasks. Picking up a 60-run lead from there on, even though the game was drawn, they did manage to get the first innings lead. Leicester scored 250. Uh, for 3 in the second innings and declared. Ended up being a draw game. Rishi Patel got a 100 to save the team. So did Lewis Hill. Their captain ended up getting 82, saved the game for them. But personally, I know you might disagree. My man of the match has to be Chris Cook, who got them the 132 and ended up giving Glamorgan the first innings lead and ended up getting them the
Interesting.
important points.
Interesting. I think that's a fair point because again something we highlighted in episode 1 was the importance of the bonus point system and how much of a difference that makes. Clearly we can see in 1 month it's made so much of a change to the table. But I would have gone Rishi Patel. I think for him to come up and score his second 100 in the season, especially, you never know. We've seen a lot of these games where the first innings totals are huge, second innings
Yeah.
everyone just kind of falters. Again, with the conditions, you never know what can go. But to see Rishi Patel score a second 100 for me was really nice to see, especially young kid coming up um, to score those runs. But yeah, I mean, I think
Although Chris Cook didn't contribute to the bonus points because the bonus points are only counted for the first 110 overs of the game. He
okay,
did contribute to them getting most points in the game through getting the lead in the first inning, so helping them overall get
yeah.
more than 3 points and forcing Leicester to get only 1 point from the game.
Perfect. Yeah, I think it's a points game at the end, right? Especially
Yeah,
as we all have mentioned consistently that it's so tight at the top and it's so tight even at the bottom. So good to
yeah.
see players scoring runs which are contributing to points and not just big scores. So yeah, perfect. I think that wraps up the week 3 and week 4 review of county championships, Division 1 and Division 2. I know there's a lot of games that we've gone through. Again, really, really quickly. I'm sure we've missed out on some really good talking points, but that's what happens when you miss a week. But yeah, moving on to an interesting talking point, which is India's World Test Championship squad. There's a lot to dive in here, so let's move on to the second segment of this episode.